Hello, everyone. It's Jeff Allen here, and what I want to do is give a kind of a little talk on the issue of what is it about is really purpose-driven quality, and I'm going to explain this. What is purpose-driven quality? Why am I doing this? Because every freelancer and every company in the field of basically language authoring and translation services has quality written in their headline or their website, their social media. And so it's become such a basic word that it's become overgeneralized to the point that it doesn't mean anything anymore. So I want to talk about that. Uh, who is it about? Okay, so just a quick thing here over me. Most people think that I just do machine translation. They call me the godfather of machine translation, but that's not all I've done. I've got 10 or more years of experience doing being an ISO 9000 lead auditor, and that includes in several companies, major international companies, doing basically ISO 9000 coaching to software teams, doing regular mini audits internally, which is a cycle that I put into place to make that happen, doing official internal audits, doing external audits, doing customer audits, and just the whole shebang. And even on my business card, when I was in director of sales, business development sales, I had a certified lead auditor statement on the business card as a salesperson. That is like, I've never seen this before, and I had it. So it really made a statement I was giving when I was selling, enterprise level services and solutions, because I was dealing with companies that were ISO 9000 certified, so they knew exactly what I was talking about, and they could know that I was, corresponding to what they were dealing with. And I've done several publications, even in ISO 9000. Just go look at there's my publication list, and like the globalization localization association. They gave a seminar on that in 2015. It's up on their on-demand site, and then also I think at Prozzy.com 2012 virtual conference. I gave a talk on the virtual conference of the year. I gave a talk on basically essentials for successfully planning and passing certification audits for ISO 9000. Um, Now, who are you I'm talking to? That's me, and who are you I'm talking about? And just basically all the technical communication authors, translators, content writers, freelancers, companies. Everyone's in it because you all have the word quality in your, like I said, in your headline, somewhere on your website or your social media profile. It's everywhere. Um, and I remember saying at the Elia Networking Days, I gave a talk, and I said, is anybody interested in quality? And I said, okay, who is not interested in quality? And no one in the room raised their hands. It was a packed room. So it's just obvious that everybody the word quality is the center of attention. And then how I'm going to mention are kind of the two things I'm going to focus here on are purpose-driven quality, just really focusing on purpose-driven quality, and then don't over-engineer quality. Just don't over-engineer quality, and we're going to talk about that. Where it is here, I'm at the SAP France office, and this is where I was the lead auditor for 6 years, from 2009 until 2015. But I'd done it for other companies like Mycom before, and even at Sistran and all that. So, and then when today is the 16th of November in 2021. So let's kind of the thing about quality. And I've given some conference talks, and go see the one in the University of Gdańsk in Poland in I think it was 2014, but it's been October. It's up on my website. There's a thing. It's called demystifying machine translation, but really I gave the 10 key values of what I think are really important to being successful, whatever, but successful even translator or author. And I was specifically on translation at the time, but some of those key values in the top 10, I'm going to just cite a couple of those and mention them here and dig into them a little bit. Commandment number 7 in that list was, do not focus on talking about quality. And isn't that contrary to what you do all the time? Even at that conference, a lot of the talks during that morning before even me were about quality, 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 quality. And I came to the talk and I said, don't focus about talking about quality. Do not focus on it. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't want to talk about quality or believe in it. But I'm saying don't focus on talking about quality, because you need to focus on talking about other things. Okay. And what are the things that you need to talk about are you need to market yourself. You need to market your skills. You need to market your competencies. You need to market what you're good at. And then you need to sell those skills. Like, don't talk about it. Do it. Don't like he says, just do it. And then the results will be that you will help guide your customers through what is quality, with example style guides and all those kind of things and examples and how you do it. But you really just stop talking about it. Just do it, show it. And we're going to get this in a couple of minutes. And you need to really do what your customer wants. You need to really get their requirements and ask them what they want. Don't really don't think that you understand what they want. You need to really get them to talk about what they want. Do you want to get them to express that? You want to get to document that. You want to get them to approve what you're doing, and just deliver quality. Deliver it. And let others talk about you afterwards, making recommendations and all that, customer testimonies and all this. This is how it works. It's better when others talk about you giving quality than for you saying, I give quality, high quality, because if everyone's saying I give high quality, then what does that mean anymore? It's just there's no meaning to it. It's just there's no value to talking about quality. So really the whole thing on that is, don't focus on it. And really it comes down to is you need to not over-engineer quality. And I cannot take the credit for this. I really want to highlight my peer in the industry, Kurt Godden, who in 1999 we were both giving talks at a conference at the Society for Automotive Engineering in Amsterdam at the SAE. It was the SAE Top Tech. There's a multilingual kind of documentation talk there in Amsterdam, and he explained just a great analogy about quality and over-engineering, why it's not over-engineering. And he was at GM and General Motors, and he said he was in an exposition one time, or some exhibition, or some car industry thing, and they had a car that I'm not going to cite the name of the car. Okay, I'm not going to cite the other brand name, but he said he looked at the car that he was kind of it wasn't a high-end car at all. Okay, so it was more low-end, and he said he went and he looked on the inside of the doors, and he said it was too perfect. He says the lining inside the doors was just, there were no seams. You couldn't see any of the welding that had to be done on the car to get the metal to be. He says it was so perfect. And he gave examples, and he says that is over-engineering quality, because the value of that car did not justify doing that much quality on the inside of the door, because the inside of the door is inside. You don't see it. No one else outside sees the inside. And so if the customer, who is actually the user, is actually driving the car, doesn't need to see that perfect quality. Okay, if you have a high-end car, I'm not going to cite those brand names, that's where you'd expect that kind of quality, but not in a car that's just 4-cylinder lower brand, or not lower brand, but it's just way over, it was over designed or over produced to the point where it's just way too much. The cost of the car, the internal cost of the car, is going to cost more than the actual. It's not worth it, because you're not going to sell it for enough to the audience for that price of the car. Okay, so that's what it comes down to. And then there are some kind of other examples, like if you're giving a meeting agenda, like the European Commission. I know that when doing translation, the European Commission, when you're doing meeting agendas and all that, and you need to have an upcoming agenda for meeting in like 25 languages, and you need to have just the agenda point items. When you're translating those, you just want to get it quickly. You want content gisting. You want to get it just for information in those 25 languages. But if you're spending too much time trying to perfect that agenda, which is really just an informational bit of information, if you're trying to get perfect and you miss the deadline of the meeting itself for the translation of that agenda, then you've missed the point of doing the translation of that agenda and even the meeting minutes. And if you need to do it within like 24 hours or even less, or 12 hours, 48 hours, and you miss that deadline, your quality is not worth it because you've over-engineered it. So there's a couple examples, and there are others. And I would encourage you to kind of look at a few of my other talks. I've given some like the issue of Google Translate and Skype Translate are up on my website, and I give some things, and I give examples talking about the quality of the level of things. If you got a guitar, an acoustic guitar, do you have a toy guitar, do you have a medium-sized travel guitar, or do you have a high-end kind of acoustic Martin guitar, or not high-end, but the HD28 Martin is the standard reference. And you will find that you won't find the glue residue in the high-end Martin or high-end Taylor or not the higher series. You won't find glue residue and things, or you won't find that the shavings they've done the braces. You'll see that they're really nicely done. But in a lower travel guitar, a medium level for much less, you can expect to find it. If you don't find it, it means that they spent too much time on trying to make it perfect, and the cost of the guitar is too much. Or the internal cost of the guitar is going to be too much to produce it than it is to sell it. And then then what happens after you have to have the sales from the higher end of guitars. They're going to be funding or compensating for the medium lower end guitars because too much quality is put to it, and the company won't be successful and won't get through, and then they'll probably close down. So don't over-engineer the guitar. Don't over-engineer a phone. Don't over-engineer a camera for the level that you're getting at, and you've got different levels. And I've got some other kind of videos on showing that, and go look at my University of Gdansk. Again, I've just mentioned that at 2014, and I mentioned a couple examples of this, and then the other video about Google Translate, and Microsoft, and all that up on my website. And I give some examples of just these things. So these are kind of the top. Just don't over-engineer it for the value that it's worth. And that's something that's really important to understand. And we're going to get this as I'm going through and explain this some more. So that was my commandment 7 in that, and the 7 commandments out of 10 commandments. And you'll see in that video why I talk about commandments. Now, commandment 5 of those 10 was you need to measure your productivity. You need to measure your productivity, and you need to improve your working skills, and you need to use your tools that you're doing, your whatever assistance tools, productivity tools, whatever they may be. It could be Microsoft Word, it could be Excel, it could be PowerPoint, it could be computer-aided translation tools, it could be machine translation tools, it could be whatever. Okay, you need to just measure your productivity and just improve your skills in working those tools. And you have a goal, and your goal of achievement is to make a minimum of 2,500 words per day in the translation. That's your goal. And you need to use whatever tool that's going to make you efficient to do that, whatever it may be. And if it doesn't, then just use another tool. If pen and paper can do 2,500 words, just do it. But you need to measure that. And why? Is because quality is all about measuring. You can't claim quality if you can't show that you're measuring it, and then show the results of the measurements. This is really what it comes down to. Quality is about measuring. And like I said earlier about the ICE 9000, we can't just say, oh, we are quality at the software company. No, what happens is in the audit, you have to prove the measurements to the auditor. You got to prove what you're doing. You need to show how you're doing things. You need to prove that you have a process in place that is going to result in quality. And at the end of the day, when you get audited, there's a stamp of approval and gives you that certification or recertification of the audit process that shows that you have been able to demonstrate that you can produce quality of something, but you have to measure it and you have to show how you're measuring it. And that can be in the number of bugs being fixed or not. And that's in the software industry, or how you are doing things early on, or your design, or that your testing procedures are in place. And all this is measurable, totally measurable. And this is how you measure quality. And you need to be able to prove that. Now, how can we bring that to the translation field? Because this is a really difficult thing. It's not just, well, we just do this and we hire native speakers and they're always in their home country, something. And that's not really the measurement of quality. You need to prove it and how to do that. And what I've done in some of my conference papers and things, and you can go look at the paper that I did in 2006. I made it up on Translators Cafe. It's in my list of publications. It was called Improved Translation Quality with Machine Translation Dictionary Building. And I don't want to go into the different types of machine translation. That's the goal of this here, whether rule-based or not. That's not the goal. But that paper specifically showed how I measured quality. And I did measurements, and I have just go look at it. There's an Excel table, and I logged all my time, where I was in the train, or in what device, on a pocket PC or on a computer, laptop, in the garden, or in the yard, or in the train, or in the subway system. On what device? It could be a pocket PC. It could be a laptop computer. In different places, and how much time I spent on doing it. I logged. This is a 10-minute slot. This is a 50 hour in a hotel. This is an hour slot, something like that. And I just logged everything and how much time it took and what I did for that time. And really, in the end, the number of entries was, if I just look at that list, and I'm not trying to show it here because I'm trying to tell a story. The number of entries that were there, really, if you think about the entire list, would probably have taken 15 minutes to fill out. A total of filling out the sheet. But at the end, I showed that I made 29 hours and I think 01 minutes. So that kind of gives an amount of time when I calculate it with the little number, the calculation. And what it showed is how much time I was able to do at certain tasks, including for this whole process from end to end of designing, thinking about it, doing corpus analysis, doing the dictionary entries, testing them, and going through. And at the end, it only took me 29 hours to achieve such a level of quality for this amount of words for that test set, for a larger test set. This is how you measure quality, folks, for the translation field. And you can just do the same thing. But really, I have seen so few people in the translation field that are really good at just measuring what they do, that have login time. They just have a way to log their time and do it and keep track of it and what they've done and all that. Yes, it takes time. It's admin work. But this is how you show quality in the end, when somebody shows you what you did, or how fast you are. Okay, these are things, and you need to just. And what are you doing? I mean, how are you using software checking, language checking tools? Are you using spell checkers? Or what are you using to check the quality behind it? And are you using it or not? Because this is how you measure quality. And you need to just show that and document it. And this does not take much overhead time. But if you don't do it, you can't show that you can't mention that you're doing it, even in just a short little list when you're kind of pitching yourself. If you can't tell people what you do to measure quality, then you're just stating quality. I'm a quality maker, but it has no meaning. Okay. Commandment 9. So that was Commandment 8 now. That was Commandment 5. Commandment 8 in that list, and I didn't make them in order. I just was listing them, but here I'm kind of putting them in order that makes sense. Is now, once you've got that down and you're doing it on a regular basis, then you need to estimate carefully, because the whole goal is to do better each time. Because if you're spending the same amount of time doing a production project of translation, and you're always spending the amount of time you're doing it, then, well, you're not improving. And the whole thing about quality is improving. That's the purpose of quality measurements, is to improve and get better and better and better and better. And that can be in time, it can be in the production cycle, it can be in the results, it could be in a lot of different things. It's that whole time, quality, cost ratio triangle that you can't always have all three. So you got to decide how you're going to sacrifice one or partially do. You can't have the perfect thing of all three and be perfect. It's not possible to do that. It's very difficult to do that. Uh, so estimate carefully what you do after you have been doing it for a while. Get your estimates really. How much time is it going to take me to do this on this kind of thing? You can do that after you've been doing it for a while. So estimate carefully. Then you need to promise on what you can do. Okay, you need to promise to do it. Then you just do it. Okay, just do it, and then you deliver it with exactly what's been asked for. Not too much. Don't over-engineer it. Do what's been requested. You need to document your process in doing it. And this does not have to be a PhD dissertation, folks. This just needs to be a minimum thing. Notepad, Excel, whatever. Just make it happen. Word document. Just document minimally. You need to improve your analysis each time. And that comes down to commandment number 9, which is you need to baseline your time. How much time it takes you to do that task? Is it 7,000 word project? Is it a 30,000 word project? Is it a website with this many words, with this many non-translatables, or whatever here and there, or how many strings you've been translating, or whatever, menu items, or paragraphs, or words, or characters, depending on the language. Okay, and they can be pictograms, they can be left to right, right to left, just whatever. You need to baseline your time to find out what is your average, because remember your goal is to reach 2,500 per day. And I did a paper in Multilingual Magazine on measuring productivity, and I did the survey results, and the results of 60 different organizations of different size and all that was 2,500 words, just a little bit under. So 2,500 is the kind of the goal of everyone to achieve, without taking into account translation memories and all that or whatever. It's just what's the main goal? And some people do pages. Some go read that article in Multilingual Magazine too, and it's in my list of publications to find. So you need to baseline your time. Then you need to benchmark your time each time you do a new project against the baseline. And that's measuring quality. You're measuring how well you're doing compared to what you've done before. And there are factors and variables to take into place. Sometimes it can take more time because you have to do more research on a dictionary entry. That's okay. But you can justify that. And you can charge for that extra value extra value thing. You can charge for your extra time in your dictionary if you can show that the value of it is providing, if what you're doing in the time is providing value compared to what you do with your regular pricing. This is what it comes down to. Okay, so you need to benchmark your time against the baseline. Then you need to compete against yourself. Okay, you need to compete against yourself when you improve on your own work. You need to be faster. You need to deliver on time. And before the deadline, not getting up the deadline. You need to arrive so you can do it before the deadline. And so you can go on vacation too and do all this, or see your kids, or spend your time with your family, whatever. But you need to compete against yourself each time, getting better and better. Don't burn yourself out. Do that. And you need to deliver on time, and you need to do what your customer asks for and expects. And don't try to do more. Do not try to do more. You will burn yourself out, and you will do too many changes, and you will fall into the red pen syndrome of wanting to edit everything. Okay, I mean, this is really true. If you take one document and you give it to 10 translators, they will translate it 10 different ways. Then you'll give each of those 10 translations to the 9 other translators to edit, and they will all change everything. This is called the red pen syndrome. And then you just recycle it. You will turn things into we have spent too much time editing, and not focusing on what the request was in the beginning was purpose-driven translation. Don't just edit for the editing purpose, because everybody wants to prove in an editing cycle they have added value. And the way to show value, supposedly in the translation field, is to make red marks, right? So we've added more red marks, but it's cost more money to do that. And did it really add value, or did it not? I can tell you, my wife had done a translation of a kid's book, and the comments that came back in the translation were no added value. They just didn't change anything. It was just the person on the editing side trying to prove that they added something, and they made too many changes for nothing. It didn't change the actual semantic meaning of the text. It was just to prove that they had done something. Don't try to prove your value by just making red marks. It doesn't add things if it doesn't change anything significantly. And this comes back to is what is the value you're doing? What are you adding to it? And this really focuses on what's the purpose of your content. Okay, are you doing content for inbound kind of translation, for content gisting, to just get a sense of what the article is about, the book is about. Sometimes they call this draft translations, just to get an idea what's the content of the book about before we actually do a translation of the book. I've heard requests on this all the time, where people just want to do a quick on-the-fly translation to get an idea what the book is about before we invest in doing a translation of it. That's going to cost money. But if we don't have an idea what the book is about, then we won't decide to make the translation or not a good translation. Content gisting, give the examples of the addendum meeting minutes. Just don't over-engineer. These are things that what you want to be able to do is prove what is. So if you're doing content gisting, that's one thing. If you're doing translation for publication, it's a completely different scenario. And that has value for people trying to sell their products, sell their services. So of course, you want the quality to be a bit higher than just content gisting. The purpose of the content will determine how much quality we need to invest in that. And sometimes you don't need to have too much quality. Sometimes you just need to accept that the tolerance level of the quality is lower on content gisting topics of newspaper articles, Newswire. I've done a lot of those where you do Newswire translation. You're not looking for perfect translation. You're looking for something that's understandable. You just want all the vocabulary words to be correct, but it doesn't need to be perfect. Sentences not, edited 25 times to have the preferences, and people would change the preferences and the way the stylistic content, and this just lowers the quality of things. Sometimes it lowers it, that the cost is too much. Okay, and I need to repeat this maybe 25 times in this talk, or 17 times as the rule. You don't memorize things. You said 70 times. The red pen syndrome will just lower the value of your service that you're selling. Now, I'm not saying here that quality is important. I'm just saying evaluate what your value is, your quality. And you really need to think about that. Don't over-engineer. Commandment 9, just keep continuing on, is you just need to consider quality kind of like how you measure the number of likes that you get on your Facebook profile, on your posts, or the hits on the number of views and the likes on your YouTube channel, the likes and unlikes, okay, the statuses of your your tweets and your retweets, on your faves, on the Twitter tweets, and the likes on your LinkedIn status changes and your posts and all that. We measure that, don't we? Don't we measure that? And then I give the talk. Look at my Gdansk talk. I give screenshots of one of my just some examples, and we measure that. Well, maybe you need to be measuring your translation work, just like you measure the engagement, audience engagement on these social media platforms of your posts or whatever they are. Think about your measuring, because that measurement allows you to evaluate the value of what you're talking about. And just like here, I'll see here this video, I'll see wherever I post it, I'm going to see the number of likes on the post, or down likes. Maybe people won't like it, and that'll help me evaluate the value of what I'm talking about. And I'll see it on the YouTube channel where it's going to be put. I'll see it on the posts they put as well. And this is how I measure the value of what I'm giving to my audience. And you just need to do the same thing when you do translation. You just need to evaluate it in a different way, but take that principle, the framework, and apply it to what you're doing for measuring your productivity. And measuring the way that you get feedback about what you're doing. Find ways to do it. I'm not saying you have to do it that way. Just find ways to do it. And then Commandment 10, and I'm going to try to wrap it up with this point here, at least on the topics of these things, is stay in scope, folks. Just stay in scope of what you've been asked to do. Figure out what your scope is. Don't go beyond. Don't do quality creeping. Okay, in software, we call that feature creeping. So later on, people start adding more features in. The scope of the project starts getting bigger and bigger, and you start moving away. And what happens? Well, the quality goes down because you had to do more. You had to need more features for the period of time you had to deliver. And sometimes people don't negotiate a lengthened delivery date with adding more features. And that's where it's not good to do that. Keep your focus. Keep your focus on what can you do in a certain amount of time, and don't change that. Or if you change that, then you add more value, you add more cost to the project. And that's about quality. Learn to sacrifice some things, do it what you need to do. Don't try to go beyond. And you need to get your customers, your new customers, to validate what you're doing and to approve it before you deliver it. You need to get them approved on the expectations of what they want, and you continue with that path. You do not change anything in your deliverable while you're doing the work of translation, the production work. Do not change anything, and you need to stay focused on the in-scope and your out-of-scope objectives. Sometimes you need to have in-scope and you need to have what's out of scope. You need to be specific about this. This is about quality. This is how you measure quality, because then you say, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Or I'm not going to make a style guide. So if I don't do that, then you'll get charged for more if I make corrections. This is how you measure quality. And there are lots of ways to do this, and I don't want to give, I'm already here at 31 minutes, folks. So, and I'm, you're probably listening, because you like to hear the thing about quality, but I don't want to sit there and talk about, I need to measure how much time it's going to take here for me to talk about this. And I'm telling a story, but these are just, it's my advice, okay? And just having someone that's done in the software industry, that's gone through audits, has cleaned up stuff too that had to be cleaned up, and got raked over the coals, got back from a job for my vacation period, and said, hey, get a job, Jeff, you're now the quality auditor of the entire company, and had to bring back. And we did it in a few months and got it on, and then we got raving results, and our customer audits were just wonderful, because we focused on the quality. We focused on measuring the quality. We focused on maintaining and monitoring and working with people, and we had cohesion in the company, and we did a wonderful job. And for the year and a half that I did that was just, we brought things back in order, and it was great. And I just used that later on and coming to SAP a number of years later, said, we don't want to go in that direction. We want to measure and do it and do the coaching now, before, upfront, early in the process, and do not wait to the end of the process to have bad results, and then we have to fix things. And this is how you arrive at don't have nonconformities. And I don't want to get into all the details here, because we're trying to pack so many things into just a short talk of 30 minutes. So this is what I really want you to think about. And so the key takeaways are, don't over-engineer it, okay? Don't over-engineer the quality. Another key takeaway here is just do your quality. Don't talk about quality, just do it. And let others then talk about you. And those are kind of key things. There are other ones, but hopefully you've gotten something out of this video, and let me know by your likes and comments and all those things. And that helps me measure how I'm presenting it. Thank you very much.